In today's video, we're going to have to go back in time, before the Game Boy, before the NES, before the family computer, before the Game & Watch, to 1977. That's because we're talking about the color TV game 15. And as you can tell from the packaging, it's obviously a Pong knockoff. Nintendo entered the home console video game market with the Color TV Game 15 and the Color TV Game 6. The 6 was essentially a weakened version of the 15. It had less features and the controls were essentially attached to the system itself. The model we're looking at here today is the 15V, which is a revised version of the 15S. So let's go over the controller. The controllers are kind of nice. They're hardwired in, obviously, but what's kind of cool about them is that they have these little slits on the back. They kind of fit right into their slot, and it kind of prevents you from pulling the paddle out accidentally. Or if you happen to pick this thing up and move it about, it won't just, slide out. They're kind of in there a little bit. So yeah, it's pretty standard. One thing that is kind of interesting about these paddles is that they don't actually spin they do spin 360 degrees, but they don't spin infinitely in one direction. And they did that because, for whatever reason, I guess the way they programmed the game is that you can actually move your paddle off the screen, which is kind of an interesting flaw or feature, if you want to call it. But so to limit, the player from getting lost or basically moving their moving their paddle all the way off the screen, you could easily, say, "Oh no, where's my paddle?" So to prevent people from getting lost off the screen, they kind of made a limit to I don't know if you can hear it click or not, but basically they kind of put a limit to how far you can spin it all the way around. It's this controller right there. In case you didn't know what it was, they put the label there for you. Yeah, and of course the other controller is identical. And for size reference, I have an NES controller here just in case you're curious about the size. Yeah, it fits in the hand all right. Yeah, so here's the back side of the unit. Right here we have a bay that holds 6 C batteries in case you wanted to play it on battery power instead of the AC adapter. Interesting thing to note right here, on the system, this is the only place where it says Nintendo, right here, these 3 characters. Other than that, there's no other writing of Nintendo anywhere else on the system. Right here, if you want to, you can stick a little screwdriver down there and change what channel the game's being displayed on, channel 1 or 2. But yeah, and then of course you have your patent information there. So first, before we play our system, let's go over the control panel very quickly. So firstly, we got the power switch right here. These 2 up here control the size of your paddles, which could be useful if you want to give yourself an unfair advantage. Next, we got the speed of the ball. Obvious, that's kind of nice to have. In this last one, and it might not be obvious at first, but this could be quite useful. This switch controls whether you have 1 paddle per player or 2 paddles per player. And they have a game on here that's very similar to foosball or soccer, and by switching on 2 paddles, it actually can make the game a little bit more fun, a little bit more interesting, where you have a paddle on the opponent's side of the field and vice versa. So that could be kind of interesting. And it kind of varies between modes. I'll go over that once we actually get into the games. And next we have our game selector. So as you can see, there's kind of like different sets of games going down the side here. A is kind of one mode, B is one mode. So we got, I think the first 2 is a basic volleying game. And then so on down. And so you basically just kind of snap this little selector down the rows and select your game. Once you've selected the game, you hit the green button and that'll start the game. As far as hooking up the system goes, It uses one of those old-fashioned switch boxes, the kind that you'd use with an Atari 2600 or any other older system. Unfortunately, on mine, the little prongs have broken off. Not to worry. This female RCA to male coax will do the job just great. Here we have the AC adapter. As you can see on there, it's Japanese and it's 100 volts as opposed to our American grid is 120 volts. So in order to safely play this system, I'm actually, instead of plugging it right into the wall, I bought a small transformer that'll convert the voltage output to 100 in order to safely play this. Another thing that's kind of interesting to note, you've probably seen little wall warts like this before, but typically the cable coming out is on the bottom. For whatever reason, they put it on the top. Makes it kind of it's kind of interesting, I guess. But it works just the same. And here's the little, little port there. And so let's go ahead and set this guy up and play her. Alright, so we got our system plugged up to my trusty Emerson television set. Let's skip around. So I think we're on channel 3 right now. Let's skip ahead to 95. Alright, so let's boot up the system. And here we are. We got the first mode here. And as you can see, funny enough, I can actually move the controllers or the paddles off the screen. Kind of an interesting, I guess, I don't know if you want to call it a flaw, but an interesting feature. Anyhow, so we got the first mode. I'll go ahead and start it up. Mind you, I'm trying to play by myself here, so as you can see, the obstacles in the middle have a tendency to reflect or bounce the ball. I'm just going to reset the game real quick. So one thing to note, we have switches on the system that enables us to change the size of our paddle. So here's the large and here's the small size. Can make your game a lot harder. Or if you want to change your opponent's size, I guess it could also make the game easier. But you also have ball speed, and there's also, I'll show you the ball speed. So by default, this is the slow speed, just to get an idea. I just showed you some of the footage of that a while ago. So that's slow. Let's change it to fast. Here we go. So yeah, quite a bit faster. Yeah, a little too fast for me to keep up, especially since I'm doing 2 players here. I switched it back to slow, and there's also double paddle, which is kind of cool. Kind of mess with your opponent and hit it earlier than they're expecting or later than they're expecting. So that could be kind of interesting. Let's try a different game mode. I'm going to go ahead and switch it back here. So this is the first mode. Let's go to the second. The second is essentially just your basic game of Pong. The lines down the middle are essentially just, there to show you where the midline is, the center is. They don't block your ball. Yep, so pretty simple. Let's go to the next mode. I'm on the third switch. Here we go. So this is essentially like a soccer or football setup, I guess. The lines on the sides, as you can see, do bounce or reflect the ball back at you. And every once in a while you have these little kind of obstacles that kind of go in and out of existence in the center of the screen. And here's where it gets kind of neat. If I switch on double paddle mode, oops, hold on just a second. You can see I have a paddle on the other side. Like, essentially you have one paddle on your opponent's side of the field, which is kind of pretty neat. Kind of turns into a game of foosball almost, which is kind of neat. I find this mode to be most entertaining out of all the settings on the system. And if you don't like those walls on the if you don't like the walls on the sides there, you can turn them off on the next mode. If I go down on the game switch here, there you go. So now there's no walls. So it works pretty much the same. As you can see, I'll point, but so unlike the other modes, on the other modes you can basically get a point if it goes across anywhere. But since this is supposed to be emulating football or soccer, it your goal is kind of finite and right there. So yeah, it's a little bit different. I'll go down to the next mode since it's essentially the same. So this one kind of works like the very first one, except the balls tend to ricochet or bounce a little bit differently off the center obstacles. It seems to have a greater tendency to actually come back at you. Kind of interesting there. Yeah, but you get the idea. Whoops. Anyhow, I'll go down to the next mode. So, unlike the second mode, the center lines do actually bounce the ball or change its trajectory. So it's kind of interesting. If you notice, it'll actually go straight through it. Like if you hit one of those lines straight on, it'll go straight through. But if you hit it at an angle, there's a chance it'll actually change trajectory like you just saw there. It's kind of interesting. It's not, I haven't quite figured it out, but sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It's just, I haven't really played around with it long enough to figure out, you know, when it decides to ricochet or bounce. Yeah, kind of interesting. Let's go down to the next here. So this, I'm not sure what the goal of was with this. I'm assuming it's supposed to be like volleyball. And it's kind of bizarre in that, as you can see, it's kind of bouncing off an invisible like wall up above. I'm guessing they did that to kind of emulate gravity and how gravity would kind of bring the ball back down in real life if this was a game of volleyball, looking at it from the side. Oh, there you go. It looks like the ball is kind of stuck. Let me see. There you go. There you go. So this might be better played at a faster speed. Whoa. Or maybe not. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. And the final mode, it's supposed to be like a shooting game, I guess. I'm not sure if my system's broken or not, or what, but let's see. So, from what I understand, the objective is you're supposed to be able to hit or shoot a ball at that moving target on the right side of the screen. Only thing is, as you can see, there's no ball to be found. There you go. And I just shot. It's kind of weird because I'm assuming the red button on the control panel is supposed to shoot the projectile There you go, like it worked there. Other times it doesn't work. I think it's just that the button on my system is not, it doesn't work very well.